The day I had done the shopping, it was bitterly cold, and I was carrying two luggages in both hands. And I met this elderly Englishman. He looked at my face, and I'm quite sure he didn't like it one bit. And the comment he made spoke volumes for itself. He said to me, "Why don't you go back to your country?" I didn't ask him anything. He just ventured that advice. It's little things like this which often could get you down.
60% of English people suffering from personal pride, pride, fear. Because you have done so much bad things to us in the past, you believe we're going to do the same thing back again. Fear, that's what's killing you a lot. Fear and ignorance. Ignorance and fear. Intelligent fools you lot you are. You're going to cut because of the color of the skin. What can you do about this?
Nothing.
Then why you worry about it then, bro?
Oh, don't worry about it, mate.
What can you do about it? You work for everybody.
I remember a woman actually coming up to my mother and saying, "Oh, Miss Hibbert, how do you manage to keep, your daughters looking so nicely dressed?" And, it was as if they expected us to go to school wearing rags or something. But, I mean, we were well turned out. I mean, you made sure you were well turned out when you went to school.
Made sure we were well turned
out. She made sure we were well turned out when we went to school. But then when she came up and said to my mum, I thought to myself, my God, everybody must know about us.
No, I didn't really think anything of it because it was habit.
But when she came up and said that to Mum, it clicked to me. I thought to myself, she wouldn't have gone and said that to anybody else. Why would she come? It was like, it was like a shock that Mum actually had us turned out so well every morning, It was weird.
The 1970s saw the re-emergence of the far right. A party known solely for its stance on race was now gaining support.
This is the National Front, Britain's new patriotic political party. The party that says put Britain and the British people first. The National Front is the only party that says stop third immigration.
Fellow members of the National Front, the impact of our movement on the public of this country has been greater than at any time in our 10-year history.
Their marches often ended in violence, but their share of the vote increased, especially in local elections. Race was on the political agenda yet again.
But there was a committee which looked at it and said that if we went on as we are, then by the end of the century there'd be 4 million people from the new Commonwealth or Pakistan here. Now that's an awful lot, and I think it means that people are really rather afraid that this country might be rather swamped by people with a different culture. And the British character has done so much for democracy, for law, and done so much throughout the world, that if there's any fear that it might be swamped, people are going to react and be rather hostile to those coming in.
The hostility was already in place. People defined by the colour of their skin lived with the fear of racial attack, and every day they encounter with abuse and bigotry.
I'd be walking and people say, "Hey, you black bee," this kind of thing. And I would get all kind of scared. But then as time went on, the scaredness ended up being angerness. So I started getting into things like martial arts stuff so that I could back myself up. And it's helped me up to now, and I'm not going to regret any of it. I'm not going to say I'm a violent guy, but I'm not going to say I'm a pacifist. Because it's one thing, if somebody says to me, "Hey, black man," that's stepping on me, as far as I'm concerned. Noel's different, he'd rather kind of walk away. A lot of people would rather walk away, because it hurts me that much, and it really annoys me that much if people say that to me.
The police were very racist, they probably still are.
I quickly dealt with racism and said, look, this isn't a problem of mine. This isn't a problem of black people. It's a white problem.
Looking at our local situations and looking at the police as an institution and as a force, because although people in the Metropolitan Police would like to convince us through some of the advertising, and some of it's quite good, that they're no longer a force but a service, you don't service people to death, you force them to death, and we're still dying.
Fury intensified when a 19-year-old man, Colin Roach, was found dead inside a police station.
Colin Roach went to Stoke Newington police station in 1983. He was driven there by a friend. The friend didn't know why he wanted to go there, and shortly after that he was dead, killed by a sawn-off shotgun, which was apparently placed in his mouth and the trigger pulled. And the police immediately notified the press to say that a young black man with a history of mental illness had committed suicide. Now, that's without any notion of his previous medical history. That's without any investigation of the shooting which took place. On the same day that Colin Roach died, his father was taken to the police station later on. He arrived round about 12 midnight. Colin Roach is supposed to have died somewhere about 11:30. And Colin Roach's father was questioned for 3 to 4 hours about Colin Roach before he was told his son was dead. And that was something which greatly distressed the father, and when it became widely known, angered many other people.
Colin would not kill himself, so we all must pull together. We all are blacks. We all got to pull together.
After the death, a number of Colin's friends and associates, young black people, mounted their own demonstration. They didn't have a public meeting. They didn't have any sort of mysterious left-wing ghost coming in to inspire them. They mounted their own demonstration outside Stoke Newington police station, clamoring, demanding that thing we always seem to demand these days, a public inquiry.
How did he die? Why did the police tell us that it was suicide? Silence! Silence! Hollywood police! Caliban police! Western police! Shame! 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 Shame!
The inquest into the death of Colin Roach decided he had committed suicide. The verdict caused despair, and the relationship with the police deteriorated even further. Anger and frustration exploded when Cherry Gross was shot by a policeman. They'd broken into her home looking for her son. He wasn't there. A police inspector was acquitted of unlawfully wounding her. Her son was given a suspended sentence for possessing a sawn-off shotgun. Cherry Gross was left paralyzed.
If I